This is way warmer. Ooh, ready? I do want to welcome everyone this morning to a very special Dawn at Oaklawn. I'm continuing the Hall of Fame theme. As you know, we did have last week with more than 20 members of Racing's Hall of Fame here to join us. So Wayne is very busy during the mornings. He is always on his pony. And do you like the chairs that I set up, Wayne? Do they look familiar?
Out of the wind. That's pretty.
Yes.
Is it on?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is great. Get out of the wind. You guys haven't got it quite so good there.
Do you recognize the chairs?
No.
These are from my office.
Oh, all right, good. Nice soft chairs. When you get my age, you're always looking for a soft spot to lie.
So one of the cool things I have been blessed with is to have a friendship with Wayne and his amazing wife, Lori. They come and hang out with me between races and sit in the office and watch races. And we, as I just recently taught Lori, spill the tea on a lot of things.
Well, I want to introduce my wife. She's here right somewhere. She ducked out. Where'd she go? Oh, she went out to get the crowd? All right. Yeah, I asked her the other day, I said, did you ever in your wildest dream ever think that you'd marry a guy that won 4 Kentucky Derbies? She looked at me and said, Wayne, you're not in my wildest dreams.
So as I mentioned just a little bit ago, Wayne is the very young, spry age of 88, will be 89 September.
Right?
Still gets on the pony every day. I like to think that that is what keeps you going, knowing that you're going to get out there and do exactly what you love.
Yeah, that really helps to get. There's a couple of things about aging. First of all, there's 3 signs of old age. The first one is loss of memory. The thing that I always think of that people ask me why I get up and get out there every morning. It's going to be 89 this summer. And I think that the real thing is that I've always thought that, first of all, hang around with young people. And secondly, if you go to dinner with people your age, you'd be surprised, but within 5 minutes, everybody will start talking about their health. I don't talk about my health ever. I just eliminate talking about my health and then having a passion for what I'm doing. I have the same passion right today for what I'm doing that I had probably when I was 40. It's a game of experience. So there's no how-to book anywhere to look up what we do out here. So the more we do it, the better we should get at it. As long as I keep my mental capacities and stay sharp mentally, I should be better at what I'm doing. If I were to be an owner and I was going to pick a trainer, I think I'd pick one with a little bit of gray hair, because I think that that's important that they've had that experience over and over, because these horses are not easy to read. The secret of training for me is to be able to read the horse in front of you, to know what he needs, what he doesn't need, when to push, when to pull, when to back off. That's the key, I think, in getting them where we want them to go.
So as Wayne mentioned, he has saddled 4 Kentucky Derby winners. It's interesting. How many of you knew that Wayne actually did not start out in thoroughbreds, but actually in the quarter horse world, but had a major career even before becoming a trainer as a basketball coach? He actually holds a master's in education from the University of Wisconsin. And I had forgotten, Wayne, this was in Wayne's book, Sermon on the Mount, that you actually sold a patent to Converse shoes back in the day.
Yeah, what I did is I was the assistant coach at Wisconsin, and I was working on my master's degree, and that was when everybody was getting into the overload principle. Weightlifting and everything became real popular at that time. And I developed a basketball shoe, where I tore up a Converse regular one, and I put a rag rubber heavy sole in each shoe. And if you wore like a 10, you had 10 ounces in each foot. If you wore a 12, the bigger guys had 12 ounces, the little guys had, 9, and so forth. And I did my master's thesis on that. And one day I came in the locker room, and one of the assistants on the staff with me said, "Damn, I just read your thesis." They said, "That's really interesting." I'd been working all the freshman basketball team on it. And he said, "I know a couple people at Converse. Let's go down to Chicago and see if they like it. I'll send them the thesis ahead of time." So we go down there, no lawyers, no representative. We sit down in there, and they got three-piece suit guys on both sides of this big corporate table there. So we go in there, and they tell us what they're going to do. They're going to give us 15 cents per shoe on the first 50,000 pair, and then a dime at the next 50,000, and we're going to give you 10,000. Now, if you're a graduate student trying to wonder where you're going to eat next, boy, did that sound like a lot of money to me. So I said, "Excuse us." We go out in the hall and we high five. We say, "Damn, let's go back in there and sign up." So we go back in, sign up. They take the shoe to the trade show in Chicago, sell it to the military, 180,000 pair, first blank. We're out. I took the 10,000 and bought a bright red convertible.
I'm shocked it wasn't a bright chestnut filly, knowing you. Wayne was extremely accomplished in the world of quarter horses, trained 26 champions. And the fastest, was it 26 or 24?
23.
23. I was close. Well, it should have been 26.
Let me brag a little bit. I want to brag a little bit. I'm the only guy that's in the Hall of Fame of both the quarter horses and the thoroughbred. The only guy ever been inducted in those two. I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud of that.
As you should be.
No,
and
thanks.
I think given all the amazing horses, quarter horses, thoroughbreds, especially thoroughbreds that Wayne has trained, the fastest horse you ever trained was a
Dash
quarter
for
horse.
Cash.
Legendary horse.
Legendary
in the
quarter horse,
world.
Dash for Cash. Those of you that are familiar with the quarter horse industry would know that he actually was so good that he set world records when I had him, but he revolutionized the breeding industry. When he went to stud, he changed the whole game. He's really special.
There's so many quarter horses now that you can, even today, trace back the lineage, and probably 90% of them have some Dash for Cash. Wayne was inducted into the Thoroughbred Hall of Fame in 1999, the Quarter Horse Hall of Fame in 2007, 4 Eclipse Awards as Outstanding Trainer, and even given an Eclipse Award of Merit. And I loved in your speech, Wayne, when you received that award in 2014 at the young age of 78. When they start giving you awards, they're trying to get you to retire. But retirement, sir, has never been an option for you.
No, and not only that, they gave me another one of those this year. The Kentucky Derby Museum, for the 150th running of the Kentucky Derby, they have given out a
Lifetime Achievement.
Lifetime Achievement Award for the first time, and now I know they're trying to get me out of there.
So I haven't, unfortunately, it is in Louisville, Kentucky on April 11th. I will be there in spirit, but your wife, Lori, did tell me that you ran your speech by her. She was very impressed. What type of tone does your speech have? Because I've always said, since I've had the honor of knowing Wayne, he's my E.F. Hutton. I cling to every word. He's motivational, he's inspirational, and funny as hell. So what type of tone does your speech have?
Well, I want to be very careful not to talk about any of the achievements. I don't want to bring up any fact that we won this or won that. I want to talk entirely about the people that I've known that are in the Kentucky Derby Museum and documented for winning the Derby or whatever. I want to make sure that we don't get into the statistics of, I really don't want, when I wrote my book or was co-writer with the book, I wanted to be very careful not to mention the achievements either. I think that people know that, and I'd rather get them some of the quotes and like some of the things that I say. One day I was in the house there and my wife had a portfolio and I said, "What the hell is this?" And she said, "Those are things that you say." I jotted them down. And so I said, "Wow." And they had all these little scraps of paper with things on it. And that was the foundation of what we ended up being a book called Sermon on the Mount. It's just simple stuff like, tell your wife you love her every day or else somebody else will. Things like that. This is...
So Wayne has made massive contributions to the sport, and one of the largest contributions that he made was his donation, which is now a permanent exhibit in the Kentucky Derby Museum, of his mass collection of trophies. Was it one of those things, Wayne, where it was, okay, the room's full, what are we going to do with it? But you donated all of those, and that was did they have to build a wing?
They did. They said if I would donate them, that they had the plans for adding on to one of the wings there, so they added it on, and it was really, really gratifying to see what they did. What had happened, Lori and I had finished off the basement, so we had all the trophies in the basement. Then we went a little further, and we added one room. We had to remodel one room, and we added trophy cases in there. And pretty soon, believe it or not, this sounds awful arrogant, but we ran out of space on the basement. So we said, well, maybe the thing to do would be to give them to the Derby Museum and let them share them with everybody. 2,726 trophies.
And the value of those is probably in the billions.
Oh yeah, the grandchildren were pissed.
Did you give them the option to come and get one that they... No?
No, but I'll tell you where I did get an eye-opener is in order to put them in the Derby Museum, they have to appraise them. And I never thought anything of it until I got the appraisal. I thought, ooh, I cheated the grandchildren really bad here.
Well, now Wayne not only has grandchildren, but you have great-grandchildren. And what would you say to them if they wanted to follow in your footsteps, Wayne?
I don't think it's going to be easy. I think that this game has changed so bad that I don't think it's going to be easy. Again, like I said a few minutes ago, it's a game of experience, and unless they can hook up with Todd Pletcher or Steve Asmussen or something, somebody of that caliber to work under. Those assistants that I've had, and you know them all of them were pretty much with us 10 years or more. Todd Pletcher was with us 12 years, Karen McLaughlin, Dallas Stewart was with us 14 years. There's I think 11 of them out there. And so they had a course and were able to experience good horses, bad horses, and so forth. I think if somebody that doesn't have a family background, I think it'd be very difficult for somebody to start on this game unless they would step up and be able to be an assistant to one of those good people.
Well, as Wayne mentioned earlier, there are no how-to books in regards to how to train a racehorse. A lot of people there's a lot of armchair quarterbacks in horse racing, but Wayne was the epitome of a teacher and a mentor, and the people under him that he mentioned, Todd Pletcher, Dallas Stewart, Mike Maker, Randy Bradshaw, those guys have amassed over 15,000 wins. And
I didn't know that. That's wonderful. They were great.
That should also be to Wayne's credit, because Wayne has saddled more than 4,900 winners. And do you know how many grade ones you've won?
I don't know.
220.
Yeah, somebody told me 237
That's
or something.
unbelievable.
I know I think we won 31 in one season. That's a lot. But let me say this about those assistants. So those guys were going to be good whether they ran into met me or not. the people that we were very careful on who we hired and who we didn't. My son and I were close partners, and we were very careful of who we hired, and we screened them pretty good. Those guys were good horsemen and would have been very, very successful if they'd have never met me. So I think that maybe we pushed them along a little bit, organized them a little bit, maybe got them so they could talk to Nancy and other people a little bit, but they were going to be good anyhow.
So it's interesting, Wayne did touch on his 4 Kentucky Derby wins. One of those was with a filly by the name of Winning Colors. Now, if you're not familiar with quarter horse racing, the fillies run against the boys. It's common practice, but that's not common practice in thoroughbred racing. But you've kind of bucked the system, so to speak, in putting fillies in against the boys. Another one of those recently was Secret Oath, who definitely stood her ground against the boys.
Or more recent than that, the people of Arkansas here might remember Althea. We ran Althea right here in the fantasy. She stumbled out of the gate and ran second. And I was sitting over at the barn in front of her stall, and she's bouncing up and down and giving me every indication that she came out of the race in good order. And I thought, hell, I'll just walk over on Wednesday and enter her back in the Arkansas Derby. And sure enough, she won it. So we've done that before. Winning Colors, of course, was spectacular, unbelievable. We ran her against the boys in the Santa Anita Derby, which was 3 weeks prior to the Kentucky Derby, and we decided if she won that and looked impressive, we would wheel her back in the Kentucky Derby itself, and she won it by 7 lengths, and we said, that's it, here we go.
So at the age of 88, Wayne has certainly not lost his touch. Don't let the cane fool you. He is still saddling graded stakes winners, and he scored a big upset this year in the Honeybee. He actually scored his 7th Honeybee victory. A maiden is a horse that has not won a race yet. Typically, they only run in maiden class races, but Wayne entered a maiden in the Honeybee, and she won very convincingly at 28-1. And I can remember standing with you and Lori right there.
I told
and you
Lori
said,
we shouldn't
this horse
do
is going to
this.
get something.
I said, Lori, we shouldn't run her in there. She's a maiden. We need to wait till Wednesday and run her in the maiden race. But being a woman, she said, no, put her in there.
I don't know where Lori, but I'm going to respectfully disagree on Lori's account. Yeah, there she, yeah. She will call you. But Lemon Muffin was so impressive, and I remember you said Pat Pope, who's our racing secretary, amazing at what he does. You said Pat Pope wanted me to come out of here and go into maiden, and Wayne said, I'm going to win the Honeybee. And that is exactly what you did.
Well, now she's headed to the Oaks. She's going to run in the fantasy here, but you ain't seen Muffin yet.
Muffin.
You like that,
I do like that, but Wayne also has 2 Kentucky Derby hopefuls this year. Seize the Gray is actually running today at Turfway in the Jeff Ruby Stakes. What are your thoughts on Seize the Gray?
I think it's competitive. I think we could win it. I think we could be on the board, but I think we have to have a good effort on that horse. He won real impressive here, and I think he earned his right to go there. This is probably...
Do they not know you're doing an interview right now,
Well,
Wayne?
I told Bill Gates not to call me this morning, but you know how that goes. I think if he comes with his A game, and I think he's got a shot to be 1-2, and that would be great. You know, that horse is got 680 some owners. So for him to walk over there on Kentucky Derby is going to be really special if we can get him in. And it'll be a major headache for the ticket guys.
That means you have 680 people telling you what to do with the horse.
Yeah, but that's what I shut this off like that.
The other Kentucky Derby hopeful Wayne has is a beautiful horse by the name of Just Steel. Graded stakes placed. He was runner-up in 2 of our local preps, being the Smarty Jones and the Southwest. he didn't draw a great post in the Rebel. He got the far outside, and that's a short run to the first turn coming up to the hotel. He did finish 7th. What's your hopes for him in the Arkansas Derby, besides a better post?
We got to get a better post. I'll tell you, folks, if you, in a mile and a 16th for sure, if you get the 11 or 12 hole here, or even the 10 hole, you save your money. It would take I'm talking about major races, horses where the field is very competitive. It's almost impossible to win from the 11 hole here or the 12 hole. We drew that. I knew it was over in the first turn, and sure enough, we got kissed out and caught there on the first turn about 7, 8 wide. You just can't beat them there. If now in the Arkansas Derby, they got another 16th of a mile. They back the gate up and you get a little better run at it. So you might overcome it if you got the best horse, but I'll be sick if we get that post.
It was really cool to see Wayne team up with Keith Asmussen, son of Hall of Fame trainer Steve Asmussen. You actually gave Keith his very first graded stakes win, his first of many aboard Lemon Muffin. But it's really heartwarming to see the family ties, because you not only have connections with Steve, but also Steve's dad, Keith, who you rode as a quarter horse trainer. Very full circle in this sport.
I go way back with the Asmussen family. We're talking about superior horse people. The whole Asmussen family are outstanding horsemen. Outstanding. Keith, the older Keith, his grandfather, Keith and I and Sis, the grandmother, we left South Dakota together. When I quit teaching, and we went to Claremore, Oklahoma, and we were sitting there, and we combined our stables, and we found out that the weather in Oklahoma is not ideal, and we were sitting
think
around,
this is windy.
Yeah, we were sitting around the Will Rogers Hotel lobby. They had a big potbelly stove. We were sitting around the stove, and I said, "What the hell are we doing here?" And Keith said, "There's a place in Laredo, Texas, that they just opened up a training center, and we need to go down there, and we'll get lots of help, and it'll be warm." So we loaded up, and down to Laredo we go. I don't speak Spanish. I don't like Mexican food. Boy, I was out of my element. Keith and his family, they loved it. So Steve was born there, and Cash Asmussen, they've still there. In fact, they bought it. I got out of there in 2 years. I went someplace where I could, at least talk to people, and that was El Paso.
And get a good steak.
Yeah.
And get a good steak. So having been in the horse industry for decades and at the level of prominence that you have, a lot has changed in regards to rules, medications, regulations. I like to say you've probably seen it all. What do you think is something that has been the greatest change in the industry?
Well, without a doubt, the HISA, the federal act that is really, I think, really a step backwards. The plan and the overview of what they were trying to do was okay. How they went about it and who they put in charge, the people that they've hired that have not had the experience, is an absolute mess. And they've taken the position that all of us are bad guys. And they've got, for example, right now, they've got 2 FBI agents working here that have never been around the horse industry. They're very FBI agents, but they think, and I know their mindset is that we got to police this and find the bad guys. Not all of it are bad guys. The other thing is they lowered the level of the testing so much that contamination is absolutely almost on every test if you don't watch out. So it's got a lot of tweaking to do, and I think we took a giant step backwards, mainly because of the overall plan and everything, and who we got doing what.
So one of the things that the HISA has implemented is continuing education for grooms, jockeys, trainers, and I was joking when it first started. I said, who in the heck is going to give Wayne Lukas continuing education?
Yeah, that's the other thing. They were going to have us, all of us trainers go to school. I said the same thing. Who's going to teach it? The whole concept is okay. How they're going about it is not very good.
So again, in all those years, Wayne, what is something that if you became king for a day of horse racing, what is something that you would like to see changed or adjusted?
I think that I would take and pattern it after the NFL. I think that I would get a knowledgeable commissioner and have each and every racetrack answerable to the best of what's best for all the track. I trained for Gene Klein, who owned the San Diego Chargers, and he told me over and over, he said that the one thing that the NFL does is when they go behind closed doors, it was 28 teams then, now it's 32, I guess, but when they went behind closed doors, he said they did what was best for everybody. They didn't step on Green Bay or some team that didn't have this or that. They did what was absolutely best for everybody. And when they came out of there, they were unanimous with television contracts and everything. And I think we need to go, racing needs to do that. I think that if this is the most attended racing track in the winter right now in America. Believe it or not, Santa Anita is suffering. They're on life support out there with number of horses in the races and the people going to the races. You can go any day and there's nobody out there. So we're going to lose that. We're going to lose Santa Anita. You watch. The land's too valuable, and it's right in a developmental area of good homes and so forth. It's a cinch. So I think that what's got to happen is we got to get a commission and I think a board of directors that is trying to do what's best for the whole game. I don't think Hiss has got the knowledge or the expertise behind it to do that.
Because of how cerebral you are in not only the sport but management as well, has anybody in management at any track across the country or any horseman's group, do they seek out your advice and counsel?
Yeah, but when I left teaching, I found out that was the last time I wanted to be in a committee meeting or anything. But I had a chance to go to Arlington Park under Dick Duckershaw, and numerous times different things. But they even had a meeting one time in Lexington, and we were going to probably do something with a commissioner back in, I think, 81 or 2. But I'm a horse trainer at heart, and I get a lot of enjoyment on getting on that horse in the morning and getting out here in the fresh air and doing that, even though there's a lot of ups and downs to it. But I've got great clientele. Lori and I own a couple of horses that can run. We've had a great meet on our own horses. They've really done well. So that's where I am at.
You have given so much. It's insurmountable what you have given to the sport and industry of horse racing. What has horse racing given you?
I think it's given me a lifestyle that I couldn't imagine. I grew up in a little community, 6,000 people. There's no racetracks within hundreds of miles where I grew up. Wisconsin wasn't even a racetrack state, period. The closest track was down, of course, Chicago. I grew up and I had a pony that was, literally a pony. I raced her at the county fair. I sat around there, and there was a bunch of old gyp trainers that had some thoroughbred horses, and they were conditioning them. The winters were cold, so they would winter up there and turn those horses out in the deep snow, trying to use therapy on their legs. And so I'd pick their brain, and I'm sure I was a pain in the ass at that age, but my mother told me that I had to do something worthwhile in life, that I can't just fool around with horses. And she said, you need to go to school and do something. She actually pushed me for the ministry. Can you imagine that? But anyhow.
You do like to preach.
Yeah. So I got that I thought the next best thing was athletics. I got a scholarship to Wisconsin. I was able to go there and get a master's degree, but the horses were always, every summer, right there, and I never got away from them. And they gave me a lifestyle that I couldn't imagine. I would have never imagined in those early years that I'd even run a horse at a place like Hot Springs. I mean, it was a fairy tale to see the pictures where they act. All I did when I was in high school is I wanted to run a horse where they bet on them. You know, instead of the county fair, I wanted to run where they actually bet on horses, and I thought that was the big time.
Well,
And,
I think it's safe to say you definitely hit the big time, the biggest of the time. Wayne did mention the book that he helped compile a couple years ago called Sermon on the Mount. One of my favorites.
On the Mount.
Sermon on the Mount.
Yeah.
You can have a marriage license or a trainer's license. The challenge is to have both at the same time.
Boy, is that true. The divorce rate among trainers and jockeys is right there with the Hollywood group, the actors, right there. The percentage is probably about 80%. It's way up there.
But I like to think, Wayne, that you saved the best for last.
I did. I practiced it, and I thought for a while there that if I got another divorce, I was thinking maybe it's me. So I finally found a dandy. After a few, the thing is, if you're training horses and you really want to get into it, you're married to the barn. And it really doesn't make for a social life or a good marriage. It really doesn't, because there's a lot of pressure. The hours are long, 7 days a week. If you put the job description for a trainer out there, and these young people, or nobody would take it just looking at the job description, 7 days a week. I want you there at 4 a.m. You might have to stay all day. You can get done work 8, 9 at night. No days off. Nobody's going to apply for that.
So as I mentioned a few times, we had our Hall of Fame weekend last year, and a lot of the greatest jockeys to ever get on a horse were here in Hot Springs. You had a lot of affiliation with a lot of those guys, particularly
fun, yeah.
Angel Cordero on Codex. What's it like to see those guys and reminisce?
It was terrific. Angel Cordero, in my opinion, is one of the greatest of all times. Each one of those riders has a certain quality about him, those Hall of Fame guys, that makes them special. For example, Cordero rode every race like it was the second race on Wednesday. He was so competitive. One time we were living together at Santa Anita early on, and he wanted to go to the IndyCar course out at Pomona, California, and they had a course with these Indy cars that go winding around and everything, but the cars really are fast. You got to have a driver's license, and they would go up to about 35 or 40. You had to be a little careful. I go around about 3 times, and they had a leaderboard, and I get on the leaderboard. Cordero was so competitive that we were there till 2:30 in the afternoon. He was trying to get on the leaderboard. His knees on the sides were all bruised and raw from going back and forth. That's how competitive he was. He was unbelievable. Jerry Bailey had the quality of putting every horse in a position to win. He was uncanny at coming at the top of the stretch and having a horse placed where he had a chance to win on it. He was unbelievable. And you get Pat Day, which you all probably know from Arkansas here. Pat Day never, ever bothered a horse. He absolutely just always said, I'm just a good passenger. He was quiet and everything. And he would give him a little breather on the turn. I always said that every time that you ride Pat Day, at some place in the race, you just say, oh, shit. I mean, he would he'd let the two or three of them run right by him, and you think, my God, what's he doing? And then here he'd come again. But he's an unbelievable, and it goes on and on. I'm naming guys, but unbelievable riders.
One of the favorite quotes of mine in Wayne's book is, in horse racing, the good is never as good as the bad is bad. Never give up. And to me, that's not only relevant in horse racing, but also in life.
Yeah, this thing, the highs are really great, but boy, when you have to make that phone call where one breaks down, that's devastating. Some of them, especially if they only got one, people that have one horse and saved up to get that one and are trying to live the dream and they lose it. Those are devastating calls. I've been fortunate not to have to do it too much, but when you do it, that's a low, really a low.
Throughout your decades, Wayne, you've won everything under the sun. You've saddled so many champions. But is there a specific memory, whether it might have been with Jeff or one of the other assistants, that was just such a special memory to you?
Well, the memories with Jeff, my son, who was, some of you may know, run over by our Derby prospect that year, Tabasco Cat. They were giving him a bath, and the Santa Anita barn was on a long, maybe 400 yards down a road, and he jumped backwards and got loose and ran down the end, and he came wheeling down that road just as hard as he could run. He run over Jeff and caused an injury to his head, and he was in a coma for 42 days, and that was a tremendous tough time because he was my right-hand guy and not only my son. But that aside, I think that one of the best memories, when you win these things, when you win one of the Derbies or the Arkansas Derby or any of these big ones, the Classic, Breeders' Cups, when you win the first one, you think it's you. If you're lucky enough to win one after that, you right away start thinking about the clientele. You think, damn, I just put them in a position where you have already been and you've experienced it, and you get really excited about doing it with the clientele. As my career evolved and I was able to win multiple stakes races of magnitude, I always thought, wow, I can put John Doe today in that position. I got a good chance to give him that thrill. So the one that probably stood out is I was training for Overbrook Farm, a dear man named Bill Young. And he's a Kentuckian and a very generous Kentuckian. He supported the University of Kentucky and so forth. And his lifelong dream was to win the Kentucky Derby. And we ran Grindstone in 1995. And the race we ran with Baffert's horse was in a photo, and I was standing with him when they watched the race, and it was too close to call. The photo actually ended up with about 3 inches, and it was too close to call. And I said, Bill, I don't know if we won it or not. I just don't know. And he said, I'm not moving here until they post the number. So I started down through the crowd to get down to the horse, and the opinion is mixed. People are saying, boy, you lost a heartbreaker. And then the other guy would say, nah, you got it, you got it. So I get down there and I come down the tunnel and I look up and none of the numbers are out there yet. And all of a sudden, bam, our number goes up. I go to the grass infield and I wait for Mr. Young. And I'm meeting him on the turf course that day, a man that had put so much into Kentucky racing and into supporting me, to embrace him on the turf course that day. And we exchanged some words. And then to take him to the winner's circle was, I think, maybe as good as it gets for me. That was a tremendous, tremendous thing that happened that day, winning that by 2 inches.
Well, certainly one of my career highlights has been the honor to interview you on several occasions and to have, I like to think, a friendship Wayne is the
Well,
most
you're
recognizable.
damn good at what you do here. I mean, I'm not. You might guess that through the derbies all these years, I've taken a few of these, and I've had a few entries. But you're damn good at what you do, and that's important. And you know what the deal is with the press? You need to get to know them and find out which ones you can trust and which ones you can't. It gets down to trust, I'm telling you. After you've been around, like on Derby Day, I go out in front of my barn, there'll be 50 of them. And you can look through the crowd after a while, you get to know some of them, and some of them have got there to get something sensational, or you just can't trust them. So I trust you, and you're damn good at what you do.
That is one of the biggest compliments I've ever been given in this sport. Thank you for what you have done, what you have given us, and just so happy that he still has the success. He's never forgotten anything. Like I said, don't let the cane fool you.
Well, the cane is because that horse bucked me off and broke all the ribs in my back.
You can't keep a good man
I rode
down.
him for 7 seconds, I'm telling you. I didn't get the 8, but I rode him for 7. I was spurring every step.
I'm so thankful to have you, once again, Hall of Fame trainer Wayne Lukas.
Hey, thanks for coming out. Thank you. Thanks for coming out.